Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we will be reading from chapter 10, the opulence of the Absolute, verse number 40. Nandosti mama divyana vibhutinam parantava esha udeshata prokto vibhute vistaro maya nandosti mama divyana vibhutinam parantava esha udeshata prokto vibhute vistaro maya nandosti mama divyana vibhutinam parantava esha udeshata prokto vibhute vistaro maya
nandosti mama divyana vibhutinam parantapa esha udeshata prokto vibhute vistaro maya
Nantosti mama divyana vibhutinam parantapa esha udeshata prokto vibhutir vistaro maya nantosti mama divyana vibhutinam parantapa esha udeshata prokto vibhutir vistaro maya
Word-to-word translation. Na, nor. Anta, a limit. Asti, there is. Mama, mine. Divyanam, of the divine. Vibhutinam, opulences. Parantapa, O conqueror of enemies. Esha, all this. Tu, but. Udeshataha, its examples. Proktaha, spoken. Vibhutehi, of opulences. Vistaraha, the expanse. perfection and perfect by His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is a mere benediction of my infinite opulences. Please repeat after me. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Perfect. As stated in the Vedic literature, although the opulences energies of the Supreme are understood in various ways, there is no limit to such opulences. Therefore, not all the opulences and energies can be explained. Simply a few examples are being described to Arjuna to pacify his inquisitiveness. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadapayam Tarati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusade Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Deyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nantosti mama divyana vibhutina parantava Ishadudeshita proto vibhutir vistaro maya. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Krishna says that there is no end to my divine manifestations. So, in this chapter, Krishna describes so many opulences. But just before he began describing them, in verse number 19, Krishna said that I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, for my opulence is limitless. So Krishna describes so many categories, and he says that from all the categories, I am the greatest. And then in this verse, he repeats what he said in that shlok. He says that all these that I have described is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. So devotees always want to think of Krishna. And in chapter 9, Krishna concluded by saying that, fix your mind on me. This was Krishna's conclusion in chapter 9. And in chapter 10, Krishna describes his opulences by which a devotee can fix his mind on Krishna and remember him whenever he sees anything in nature which is very opulent, which is very powerful, which is very beautiful. So we find so many things attractive in this material world. So when we see anything, any beauty in nature, whether it be a person or something in nature, or it could be anything glorious, the first thing that should come to our mind is the word Krishna. So this was Arjun's question, that how can I constantly think of you, even within this material world? To answer Arjun's question and to pacify his inquisitiveness, Krishna explains so many opulences. He says that I am the sun. The This means that the sun is the chief of all luminaries, and that represents Krishna. The sun gets its power from Krishna, right? If we see anything else in nature, for example, the stars in the sky, the brightest is the moon. And when a devotee sees the moon, he remembers Krishna. So Krishna gives all these different opulences by which we can look in nature, we can look around and appreciate Krishna's greatness. And just as in this chapter, Krishna describes so many opulences, he also has unlimited incarnations, but only a few are described. For example, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami says that there are innumerable incarnations of the Lord, like the waves of the river constantly flowing in and out. There are so many incarnations, but only a limited number are actually mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. For example, we know of the Matsya incarnation, where the Lord appears as a gigantic fish to save the Vedas. He appears as Vamadev to show that he is actually the proprietor of the three worlds. He appears as Narasimhadev to protect his devotees. So these different incarnations show his different opulences and his power, and they are described so that we can appreciate his glorious activities and we can follow his instructions to fix our mind on him. So this is his instruction. And Krishna pleases his devotees with his innumerable forms and opulences by being the most attractive, by being the most beautiful, the strongest of all. And the devotees are equally eager to see the Lord. Just as we see in this chapter, Arjuna wanted to see Krishna's opulences, and therefore Krishna prescribed. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Uddhav asks the exact same question to Krishna. He asks Krishna that, please kindly tell me of your material manifestations on earth, in heaven, in hell, and in all directions. And at that time, Krishna tells Uddhav that what I'm about to describe to you is exactly what I described to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And everything that Krishna describes to Uddhav is exactly what he described to Arjuna on the battlefield. And Krishna concluded by saying that whatever power, beauty, fame, opulence, humility, renunciation, mental pleasure, fortune, strength, tolerance, and spiritual knowledge there may be, is simply an expansion of my opulence. This was Krishna's conclusion. In the Bhagavad Gita and in the Bhagavatam, he has the same conclusion. And we can also look at the Brahma Samhita. So many verses in the Brahma Samhita describe Krishna's opulence, of which there is this one that is very prominent. It says, Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but attainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is not subject to decay, who is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning, Anadim, and the eternal Purush. So the Lord is obtainable only by pure, unalloyed devotion of the Lord. And even Brahma confirms that even the Vedas cannot give a complete description of the opulence of the Lord because it's infinite in nature. It is actually said somewhere that if we use all the trees in this world to make pens, if we use all the water in the ocean as ink, and if we use the sky as paper, we will still not be able to fully describe the opulence and glories of Krishna. Can we actually imagine his position? We are so minute compared to Krishna, who is infinite, who is the greatest. I mean, just imagine yourself in the middle of the ocean. You're in a boat, and there's water all around you. And you're just occupying this small space in the ocean. And there's water all around. You cannot see any land anywhere. How small will you feel? But for Krishna, this ocean is just a tiny part of his creation. This planet Earth is just a small part of Krishna's creation. But compared to Krishna, we're actually so minute. So, when we think of Krishna's opulence, we can naturally become very humble. And this is the purpose of Krishna's describing his opulence. So we understand his position, we can understand his glories, and we can see him in material manifestations. It is impossible for us to comprehend Krishna's potency. And therefore, he is called a Dhokshaja. A Dhokshaja means one who is beyond the perception of material senses. And our mind, as much as it can try, it can never fully understand Krishna. It can only perceive material things. That's why Krishna explains to us his opulence is in his material manifestation, so we can understand. For example, in this material manifestation, we can see that there's always creation, there's maintenance, and there's destruction. There's always a beginning, middle, and end. And Krishna says, I am that. I am the beginning. How is he the beginning? He says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. I am, everything emanates from me. Everything spiritual and material emanates from me. And then Krishna also says, BG.10.40. That was in yesterday's verse, that I am the generating seed. That verse also comes in chapter 7. Krishna says, I am the generating seed. No tree can grow without a seed. No human being can grow unless a seed is planted into the mother's womb. So Krishna says, that seed, that beginning, I am that beginning. And then we can look at maintenance. Krishna provides so much for us to maintain ourselves. And he maintains this universe as Vishnu. So he's also undertaking maintenance. And then there's destruction. Krishna says that I am the end. He comes as death, the end of everything. So in so many ways, Krishna has explained his opulence to us in a way that we can relate to it and we can appreciate his presence around us. And anyone who accepts Krishna's power, anyone who accepts Krishna's instructions, Krishna's opulence, Krishna's name, form, glories and pastimes, and is thus convinced, naturally surrenders to him and engages in bhakti, unalloyed devotional service. And such a pure devotee does not fear death. But for a materialist, death is a very fearful thing. But for a pure devotee who is always thinking of Krishna, he thinks of death as an opportunity to reunite with Krishna. Such a person thinks, death? Oh, I'll be reunited with Krishna. You know, there's a short story in Bhagavatam, Canto 4, where an airplane comes from Vaikuntha Lok to take Dhruv Maharaj back to the spiritual world. And as Dhruv is attempting to get on that transcendental airplane, death personified approaches Dhruv. And what does Dhruv do at that time? He puts his feet on death personified and gets onto the airplane and goes to the spiritual world. So this is what a devotee does. They look at death as an opportunity to go back to the spiritual world. So with his opulences, we can become attracted to him. This is Krishna. The word Krish is the attractive feature of the Lord's existence, and Na means spiritual pleasure. When the word Krish is added to the affix Na, it becomes Krishna, which is the absolute truth. Okay? So as stated in the Vedic literature, although the opulences and energies of the Supreme are understood in various ways, there is no limit to such opulences. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the spiritual qualities of Krishna are unlimited. Great personalities like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the four Kumaras cannot estimate the spiritual qualities of the Lord. And Brahma admits, he says that your opulence is like an unlimited ocean of nectar, and it is verbally and mentally impossible for me to realize even a drop of that ocean. And then Mahaprabhu continues saying that to say nothing of Lord Brahma, even Anantashesh, who has thousands of heads, cannot reach the end of Krishna's transcendental qualities and glories, even though he's constantly chanting his praises. Ananta Anantashesh has been chanting eternally and is still not reached the end of Krishna's glories. To say nothing of Anantadev, even Lord Krishna himself cannot find an end to his own transcendental qualities. This is said by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, yeah, devotees appreciate Krishna's presence in various ways, and Krishna gives these different descriptions so that they can realize Krishna in material nature. Krishna is present in his Vigraha form in the temple. He is present in our heart as Paramatma, and he is present through his holy name. And in this way, the devotees can see Krishna everywhere. And there's actually a book by Shubhalas Prabhu. It is called Two Fingers Short, and it is a book about Krishna's Damodar Leela. And in that book, he just gives a small description of how infinite Krishna's Leelas are. Right? Sometimes we think that, oh, because he's in the spiritual world, maybe they're just doing the same thing every day. But no. Every morning, when Yashoda Maya wakes up and she goes to milk the cows while Krishna is sleeping, she milks the cows and she thinks of what Krishna did yesterday. And as she's thinking of what Krishna did yesterday, she starts glorifying him and she composes a song. And everyone around her is listening to that song. And by the end of the day, all the Brajavasis know that song by heart. And then she repeats that the next day. Every day she has a different song. Just as Radharani, she's never repeated a beautiful Krishna. Similarly, Yashoda Maya, she's never repeated the song. Every day she's singing some new glorious song of Krishna. So, just from this we can understand how infinite Krishna's Leelas are. So yeah, we can, reading this chapter, we can just take a very humble position and accept what Krishna has given us, the description has given us. We can accept what his devotees have described about him, and everything that his devotees are saying, like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, there's Amrish Maharaj, Kunti Devi. These are all pure devotees, and their descriptions also have the opulences of Krishna, and we accept them as being authorized. So accepting Krishna's words and as devotees, we can always think of Krishna in this way. And this is Krishna's instruction, even at the end of the Gita. Manmana bhava manyajamanamasudu. Always think of me, and always chant his holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,